There we are again. Episode 38
38.
of the
Tonie and
Tonie.
Tonie Show.
Yes, that's us. Yes, we're here. Yay! Okay. Silence. Yes. We are here because there are new articles on product learning. And
Yes.
one of the articles is written by a very fine author with a very good name, Tonie Davis.
A young up-and-coming author, I would call him.
That's him.
A lot of potential. A lot of very good writer.
Yeah, he used to be an editor, but now he's an author, and he's so good. Yeah. But Tonie, you wrote a piece on data masking. What are the principles of data masking?
Well, I list out three. I mean, the obvious one is it has to find all sensitive data and protect it.
Always.
Yeah, and that means personally identifying data. It means any data the business would deem sensitive. Would cause damage to them if it was leaked.
Okay.
So it's got to find all of that. It's got to protect it. Second, it has to do that in a way that the data remains usable for the tasks that the company wants to perform with it, whether that's development, testing, analytics, reporting, whatever it wants to do with that data. It has to give reliable results still. Otherwise, why go to all the pain of the potential pain of data masking? You might as well just stick to using generated data. And third, and this is the problem we hear from a lot of customers. You can get your masking working, but it kind of always feels brittle. You get schema updates, it breaks. Regulations change, and you try to update the masking rules to reflect that, it breaks. Do you know what I mean? So it's how do you make sure data is protected, it's usable, but the process scales with you. Do you know what I mean? As your data changes, as your database grow, you don't have to continually keep patching the masking up to keep up with the changes. So what are the 5 principles that will allow you to?
Let's go to principle number 1. And I like this one.
Yes, I mean exactly. It's the foundation of a scalable data masking strategy. If it's not automated, it's very hard to prove that the rules are being applied consistently. For one, it's hard to maintain. So,
automation in mind. That's rule number 1.
Yes, and it shows a little pipeline that you can implement. I mean, there's a TDM autopilot. So we spoke to Huxley Kendall a while back who did Flyway autopilot. Same principles. It's like, how in principle do you get an end-to-end pipeline set up straight away, and then start building on it. Improve it. It's kind of that principle.
And what is number 2?
Number 2 is a kind of principle of least data exposure. If it isn't needed for the test case, don't include it in the test set.
Okay.
Yeah. So subset. Only take the data you need. So take a representative subset of the data rather than the whole thing, because provision will be faster. You'll have
it's
lower surface area.
Yeah. So there are different pros on that.
And Test Data Manager will do that. It will take a representative subset. So all the relationships will be still working, but it will just be a much smaller subset.
Then number 3, Tonie, what's that?
Well, this is an interesting one, and it's tied into the principle of automation. Yeah. So the big reason why masking is brittle is because it often requires these complex synchronization rules and manual script stuff to keep it working. You can't do that. Test Data Manager has to be rigorously driven by configuration, tracked in version control, so you can see precisely how it changes as the data changes, as the schema changes. So it says define your masking in version code and don't handle complexity through scripting. As far as you possibly can, handle it through configuration. And again, that's how Test Data Manager is kind of built. It avoids, and then you have YAML-driven pipelines that use those scripts. You have the automation. It's designed for that. Do you know what I mean? From the ground up, almost. I hate that term, but I've said it.
From the ground up.
From the ground up. That's very AI.
Am I talking to Tonie AI? What was this?
Oh yes, exactly. It's game changing from the ground up. Automation, mate. Yeah.
Okay, but
4, deterministic. I mean, databases are imperfect. even if it's a very well-designed, highly normalized databases, there's like implicit relationships, dependencies, names are embedded in strange places.
Okay.
Data masker provides deterministic masking for that reason. So the data is consistently masked between masking runs.
Yeah, so Tonie will become Tonie everywhere.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly.
Oh,
Right. You see what he did there? TLNIE. Yeah.
Yeah, that's different. And number 5, that's
yes, continuously verify. Yes, and again related to automation. Yes, automated builds from version control, and then run metadata checks. Make sure all the tables and columns are classified. There's no PII linked into there. Is the data still usable as well? Run some reports. Test it how you want to be able to use it, and make sure you're still getting reliable results. And you've got to do that on a regular basis, regular automated builds.
If I sum this up, Tonie, if you want good masked databases, you have to invest in automation. That's
configuration-driven automation, and some the anonymization and subsetting techniques that are built in here are kind of they try to do a lot of the work for you. They try to discover the PII and then suggest masking rules to it's trying to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and it will define the configuration files that needed to do that. And that's a principle behind this: simplicity and therefore maintainability of your masking solution.
Okay, but
over time,
if I look at it from a DevOps perspective, before you can automate stuff, you have to see the people and the processes that are using it. So I think it's the same with getting a good masked database. You have to understand all the data that people are using. You have to standardize the processes, and then you can automate it and use TDM as a tool.
Yeah, and I think an important point there is the ROI. It comes where if developers can self-serve realistic data quickly, they'll do better testing, they'll find more defects, you'll get better quality software. That's really the return you're getting over time, isn't it? All right, you want your data protected, so it should protect you from risk. But in essence, that's what's going to give you your ROI.
Yeah. So look at Tonie's article and see what 5 ways you are not doing at the moment, and see where you can improve. And a little hint: automation is key. And we try to be brief. So, I mean, what can we do? Just read the article. Read the article. That's why we're here.
Give feedback. Yes. Give feedback. I really did try hard to keep it focused on, core principles, what does make a sustainable data masking solution. Tell me if I've got it wrong or I've missed something.
Yeah, tell him.
Yes,
He's
please.
a good guy. He can handle it. Okay, episode 38. This is the end, and we see you on the next one.
See you next time.